welcome to today's remake. Today I'm actually gonna break down and remake the song Understand by Omah Lay. This song is blazing on the top Afro beats, and I listened to it and I kind of liked it, so I figured, you know what, let me show you guys exactly how that song was produced. Now, the whole purpose of this video is not necessarily to get the song or get the sound exactly like what the producer did, but the point is to just help you guys to understand the concept, the basic production concepts of creating a song like Understand, and for you to get the guys to develop the techniques and the different tips and tricks that they use and incorporate it into your own producing process. All right, like and subscribe to the channel. I will greatly appreciate it. Show some support, show some love. Don't forget to hit me up on Fiverr if you guys need some help and assistance with some of your production. All right, so without further ado, let's create some music. Okay, so let's listen to what the final product sounds like from the verse to the pre-chorus and to the chorus, and I'm gonna toggle between my remake as well as the original. So let's take a listen.
You make a bicycle and a boy. I ain't telling 'cause I give you on. I thought we in. I spend that. I thought we in this. Show you my best friend. Everything I do, I under.
Okay, so that's what we have. So let me show you how I made the track, starting from the drums to the bass and to the rest of the music. All right. Okay, so the first thing I did before I even started the track, to work on the track, is to use some of the sounds from my Monarch sample pack. And there's a variety of sounds that you could use both for Afro music as well as soca music. So in this case, I just decided to just load some of the instruments from that particular sample pack, just to make things easier and just to show you as well how versatile the sample pack is. What I did, first thing I did, I just opened a drum rack. So you could create a drum rack by, of course, creating a new MIDI track, and then you go to instruments and then you load your drum rack. And then what happened, whatever sounds that you have, you could just load them right there into your sample pack, in your pad. So in my case, I have my kick, shakers, toms, another hi-hat, another kick, percussions. So I have everything, basically all the meat of the song itself. The first thing I did was to recreate the kick. It's a standard kick pattern. So it goes like this. The simple kick pattern. Okay, and then what I'm gonna do to enhance some of the drums as I go along, since I've loaded most of the patterns just for time consuming purposes, I'm just gonna show you how I got the sounds to get like the original, basically. I mean, some of the patterns, if you want the patterns, I'd be more than happy to give you some of those patterns on my website on www.freesquaremusic.com. If I could get this video up to 100 likes, I'll give you these patterns and these samples absolutely free. All right. But then I have another kick. Let me make you guys listen to the other kick. This is the other kick. But what I wanted to do, since I only wanted the top end of this kick, sorry, the bottom end of the kick, which is the initial part of the kick, what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna drag this button all the way to the end. So I'm just gonna get the top piece like this. And with these two kicks together, I have this type of kick, this double kick. Okay, and then what I'm gonna do on this particular kick, I'm gonna add a drum bus effect. Go to audio effect, drum bus, and you drag it on the first kick, which is gonna be your main kick. Okay, now to get your kick to knock and to punch, you could either add a drum bus or you could add a glue compressor on it to add that slap on your kick. But I'm not really looking for slap in this particular incident. I'm just looking for that punch and that drag. So let's listen to how I shape that particular kick using the drum bus. Sorry. Gonna add some drag, add a little bit of crunch, and then if you cut back on the transient, that transients determine how long the kick is gonna sustain, or is it just gonna cut off as soon as you hit it, or just add a little bit of boom. Alright, so let's listen to those two kicks together, and then all we do now, we just balance the two right here, and to me that sounds good. Okay, so the next thing I noticed, the next pattern on this sound that I noticed is the shaker. Let's take a look at that shaker pattern. It's a simple shaker pattern. Okay, nothing complicated about it. And I'm gonna shape that pattern the way that I want to. So first of all, I can tell right away it's a bit too bright for me. So the first thing I'm gonna do is just add some EQ. Okay. See, so what I did there, because I double clicked it, that's gonna add EQ on the entire drum rack. That's not what we want. So I'm just gonna show you, to get EQ on that line individually, you just drag it right here. So now the EQ is gonna only affect the shaker. And then what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna add a low pass filter. Oops, sorry. Gonna cut back on all the top end frequencies. Just like that. We don't want too much. And we're gonna add some overdrive as well, because we want it to have a little bit of distortion on it, but not too much. And to add a little bit of sizzle, if you add some erosion, just like that. And then what we do, we just adjust the volume. We don't want it too loud, so we just bring it down. And that's what we did for the shakers. Of course, we have a tom as well. All I did for the tom, I just cut back on the sample because I don't want it to sustain. So all you just take this line right there, you cut back on it, and then you just adjust the fade out, so it will cut through. And then I added an EQ in there and a drum bus as well, just to cut back on more, but to add a little bit of boom to it. Okay, so that's it for the tom. So let's listen to what the hi-hat is doing. The hi-hat pattern is actually quite interesting. Let's listen to what I did to the hi-hat pattern. And obviously it's a bit too loud, so I'm going to remove all the effects that I have on the hi-hat pattern. This is the hi-hat. So let's listen to what the drum patterns are. That's the wood block. So let's adjust the transpose for the wood block. I'll come and put it back to the original. And that sounds good to me. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put everything on the drums on a drum bus. So I'm just going to drag it out. everything together, what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a glue compressor on the drum bus as well. Enable the soft clipping. I'm going to just trigger this, bring back the threshold until you can hear the compressor kicking in, and just find that balance. So that's without the glue compressor. That's the glue compressor. So basically that is the drum patterns. The other thing that I'm going to do actually is I'm going to show you the percussion. There's a simple percussion line that they have at the end of, I think, every 4 bars. Let's just take a listen to that phrasing. Listen. And all that is just a clap. That's just a clap. And then what I did, I just took the back end of the clap. That's it. And I just put a utility in this, put the stereo field. That's it, nothing in. If I wanted, I would take the whole clap. But I don't wanted it. I just wanted the back end of the clap, the tail. And I used that as a sound for me to go into the pre-chorus or transition. And also there's another roll at the ending of each 4 bars, which they have on repetition. Take a look at it. That's a very interesting roll. So what I did, I just used the sounds from a low tom, and I just have it running. It's a simple roll. So let's see how it sounds included in the drums. Let's listen to it. Makes a really cool transition. Okay, so the other thing that I did, I just added the guitar. The guitar is quite easy. I just used my contact electric sunburst guitar, and then I came up with this. And then what I did, I went to Guitar Rig and I just added some effects on there. And to really take off all the top ends, because I don't want any top ends at all, I just really went to extreme and just removed all the top ends from the EQ. Because it's really dark. Because I want it underneath the mix of everything. Okay? So let me show you how I made the pads for the pre-chorus. Let's listen to the pads for the pre-chorus. And again, you could use some of these techniques in recreating your own sounds for your own personal Afrobeats or your soca. So let me show you what I did. So with the pads, all I did, and I'm going to start off from scratch with a new MIDI track so you could follow along and create your own sound, okay? So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy the MIDI pattern and basically recreate the entire sound. So what I did, I used the MIDI. In instruments, I chose a wavetable, and because I have the sounds already there, this is what it's going to sound like with the wavetable. So what I did with oscillator 1, I just brought back the frequency, because you don't want that frequency, and then you could just choose between sine and a sawtooth. With unison, I added some classic, and with matrix, you could also use that so the oscillator opens a bit. See? Add a little bit of resonance, and then I'm gonna enable oscillator 2, and that's gonna add the meat to the song itself. let's play around with the sub. That sounds pretty good to me. So what you could do now, again, add some distortion by going to the amps and add an amp on it. And all you do is just play around because you want some of that distortion. Now let me show you a really cool trick that you could do with your pads as well. If you want some dimension into your sounds, you could go into the vocoder. Alright. Cut back on the dry wet. And in format, you could add this. So this is how bright it is, or this is how dark it is. And then the last thing you're going to do is just add a compressor. And then we're going to sidechain the compression to the kick. Choose. And find the balance. And that's your pads. So that's basically all I did for this instance. Let's see what it sounds like with the drums. Okay, so let's listen to the bass now. Let's see what I did with the bass. I did the same thing. I added a wavetable, opened up the amp and chose the bass amp. Just added a drum bus as well, single bass. And for this drum, I did the exact same thing as well. So by now you realize there's a pattern that I use with creating some of the more popular sounds for your Afro beats. Okay, so let's listen to everything together. And from here on, it's more or less structure of the song because everything repeats itself over and over. So there you have it. This is how I did Understand by Omah Lay. Of course, I used the sounds from my Monarch sample pack. Don't forget to check out my website,